Hey, Phil from the future here. I recommend round 3 versus Anurag Das if you want to see some really grindy magic, and I recommend round 4 if you really just want to see this deck explode and do its thing. Enjoy the show. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today we are going to be playing with Lick's MADLANDS deck list. Okay, so what's going on here? Madness is an archetype that is kind of fringe playable in Legacy. It was incredibly good for a month or two, and Endurance has kind of pushed this out of popularity, as has a lot of white removal like Swords of Plowshares and Prismatic Ending. But generally speaking, what you're looking to do is you're looking to fill your graveyard with cards like Faithless Looting, and then discard some Madness creatures that can be played for free, or at the very least for a discount. This should return some Vengevines, and maybe if you're lucky, some of your other creatures will have haste as well. So this is one of Legacy's few true aggro deck lists. You'll notice there's a complete lack of disruption in this deck list, at least in the main deck. The goal is turn creatures sideways, get people dead. Just full stop. No Chalice of the Void as a stompy piece, no Force of Will, no removal. Just turn them sideways, get our opponent dead. That's the plan. And there's usually some backup plans in this deck list, such as Hollow One, which synergizes very well with some of the other ways to discard cards. Now, we're trying the Spice today. We're going to be trying Manabond. Now, this is a card that has picked up a lot in popularity as the 8 Mulch and Treasure Cruise decks are trying to vomit all of their lands into play. What's unique about this archetype in particular, though, is that this is also a way to just discard all of these Madness creatures, which is very interesting. So we can play Manabond, vomit a bunch of stuff into play, vomit a bunch of stuff into graveyard, and then hopefully take over the game from there. Last time around, we tried 4 Manabonds. This time, we're going to try to back it down to 3. We're going to try a couple of new things here. Number 1, last time around, I played a Bomat Courier as an Urza Saga tutor target. I think the vast majority of the time, Lion's Eye Diamond is just going to be really good for flashing back Faithless Looting or just discarding other stuff. And, you know, if it's turn 4 or 5, I don't know how relevant the Bomat Courier actually is going to be. So I'm going to play an additional Putrid Imp as another discard outlet here. And we're going to try some Bloodghasts today. We're essentially a green-red mana base that does have black sources so that we can cast Bloodghast in a pinch, but we're really planning on discarding these and bringing these back from the graveyard. I don't know how good these will actually be. Again, there's a lot of exile-based removal in Legacy right now, but I wanted to give it a try. I'm also going to be running more copies of Anger in the 75 than I did previously. Giving my creatures haste is less good if that happens off of Manabond. Like, that's not super relevant in that regard. But versus decks like Doomsday, if I'm not going to play, like, Thought Seizes or some other form of disruption, like, that haste is probably super relevant in order to just kind of, like, race the faster hands that they can have. So I'm playing 1 so that I can gamble for it when I need to in game 1, and otherwise there's 2 more in the sideboard. Sideboard's tight. It's very specific answers to very specific problems. We have ley lines for opposing fast graveyard decks. We have firestorms for fair creature decks like, say, Death and Taxes or Elves. And then we have Ancient Grudges and Meltdowns in a split for the artifact-based decks. The reason we're splitting here instead of playing more copies of just like the objectively more powerful Meltdown is because like we are often going to be discarding our cards, and so having something that I can still get value out of is a-okay with me. And at the end of the day here, we also have a couple of Urza Saga tutor targets, because Urza Saga is another one of our plan Bs. Like, sometimes we'll just play a turn 1 Manabond, vomit 4 lands into play, and just try to play a fast Urza Saga game. Like, that's very much something that we can do as well. So the goal here is try to walk the line between fast aggro deck and I'm not hated out by something like a Leyline of the Void. That's what we're trying to do with this build. All right, let's get into the matches here. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. If you are a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. It helps out a lot. If you end up wanting to mess around with this deck list or you want to get one of your own decks on the channel, all that information is available in the video description. Let's battle. Alright, we're playing against a Yorion deck of some kind. I'm gonna start by Faithless Looting and getting rid of Vengevine and Bloodghast. We're not gonna be super good at returning the Vengevine right now. All to 5 on a Yorion deck. That's relatively rare. Wonder if it's like Cephalid Breakfast. I have a stop in my own upkeep. I will have to get rid of that. But for now, let's just Faithless Looting. I think I'll just play Mountain in case we are playing against Death and Taxes. I don't necessarily want to get Wastelanded right now. Oh, no. Oh, no. Like, I've got a Bloodghast. I'm gonna just ignore this Yorion. Like, let the record show that it's there, but I really need to just visualize my graveyard the whole time, and I don't want to make the battlefield too small. Okay, so probably not Death and Taxes. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna play a Manabond this turn, all right? We're gonna play a Manabond this turn. Does this seem okay to you? All right, so let's return a Bloodghast, and let's see if this resolves. So the next question is, do I actually use the Manabond trigger this turn and just put 4 lands into play? Makes Faithless Looting better next turn. I think I do. If my opponent has Prismatic Ending, I don't necessarily want them to, sorry, finishing the thought. I don't necessarily want them to just go and get rid of those things and I never get value out of this card. That could be wrong, but this allows me to do some amount of nonsense. Alright, they're getting rid of my Bloodghast. Alright. Do I want to just thin 2 lands out of my deck list? I think the answer is no. I think I am comfortable thinning 1 out of my deck list. I don't have black yet, so I'll grab like a Badlands. I want to save 1 for Bloodghast off of Faithless Looting. I'm always playing this card, I think. I will give myself the chance to change my mind. Yeah. So I will Madness this creature into play. Not triggering my Vengevine here. Having a little bit of an awkward game. Alright, let's get rid of this upkeep stop on my turn. And we're kind of hoping that opponent doesn't have a good 3-mana play, like, say, Teferi. Actually, Teferi bouncing my Blazing Root Wallet wouldn't be that bad for me. Like, that would make it easier for me to actually return this. Oh, that's gross. That's quite bad for me. I'm gonna get a Forest in case, like, some sort of Blood Moon shenanigans happen. Okay, I can cast that. I'm not sure if I'm actually supposed to cast that this turn. I mean, 100% of the time I make this attack, and I Fire Breathe. Note, you can only do this once per turn. I think I'm interested in trying to get this Vengevine out of my graveyard. I think I'm just going to chill with this Bloodghast in my hand. Not 100% sure whether or not that's correct. Alright, Uro is a problem, right? Like, I am very much an aggro deck. It's turn 4, my opponent's at 18 life. Like, they mulliganed, but I'm not doing anything impressive here. Yeah. I think I stick to my guns and try to hold this out, but I think this game is just lost. Like, the Faithless Looting just hitting double lands made my hand feel just very empty. Oh, I just noticed it, but my opponent said, like, phew, no lizards in chat when I cast that Faithless Looting. So I assume this is Uro coming, blue. Oh. A little worse than just that. So now my Urza Sagas aren't really good anymore, and my opponent still just gets Uro this turn? Oh. Sure. This may mean that my Blazing Root Wallet is just dead. Alright. A hollow one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Okay. Man, this is weird. Alright. So there's a Bloodghast. There's a hollow one. Triggering the Vengevine. Okay, which my opponent has just immediately removed. Makes sense. I think I have to go for it, though. And then I'll just poke the Narset here, so that if my opponent minuses, that effect isn't just sitting in play. Because, like, this is relevant versus some of my Faithless Looting type stuff. My board's respectable, but it's just outclassed by Uro, unfortunately. Just for the sake of comparisons, I think the first time I played a Madness list, I had 15 lands in it, plus 4 Once Upon a Time, and I think this list has like 22 lands or something like that. So we are going to run into a few more flooding situations, but the idea is that the Urza Saga kind of counteracts that. Oh man, and like Hollow One's an artifact too, so like that's destructible via Boseiju. That's not great. That was a dredge on Life from the Loam as well. Okay. Now it's Uro time. I don't know. I'm not 100% comfortable conceding, but I do think I've lost here. And I took the Pyroblasts out of my sideboard to fit in the Angers for the fast combo matchups, which isn't going to be great here. We're light on answers to Uro because of that. This is also a Dryad Arbor chump blocker forever. I think I'm comfortable conceding here. Like, this Hollow One is locked down, this Urza Saga is locked down, these small bodies aren't beating this stuff. I think I want to just respect my time here. Yeah, so these were 2 Pyroblasts in the version that was submitted to me, but I decided to hedge in different directions. How is Anger? Anger better than Gamble? Probably. Do one of those. I might want a Pithing Needle for Planeswalkers, but I'm hoping that my opponent doesn't get to the point where those cards really matter. This is not a matchup that I want to play against, by the way. This is exactly the sort of deck that I think makes this Madness deck fall out of the metagame. Like, it's got Prismatic Endings, it's got Swords, and it has Endurances and Uro. Like, that is a rough combo. This is a hand that does nothing, right? Like, I can play some Root Wallas. I don't have any synergy here. This one is going to be a mulligan. I think this one's in the same boat. I'm just not doing anything unfair here. Like, this is just Lizard into Lizard, Lizard. I don't think that's okay. I'd rather go to 5. Opponent's mulliganing pretty aggressively as well. Doesn't feel great. At what point am I keeping? Like, am I just keeping something that looks like this and hope to play an Urza Saga game? I have 0 early pressure. And I guess it has to be these 2 if I want to fetch Bloodghast. I don't think it's worth going to 4. But, this ain't great. I think I'm fully reliant on the top of the library to do cool things. And, like, I'm gonna have to make this choice between playing a Bloodghast and an Urza Saga in a lot of worlds. Okay, that's fine. A Root Walla. I can play Urza Saga this turn. Wooded Foothills next turn. Lion's Eye Diamond. Crack my hand. Use the green to cast this. Fetch, put Bloodghast into play. Use the remaining mana to activate Urza Saga. If I want. Alternatively, I can actually just cast a Basking Root Walla this turn. And then it gets to actually attack next turn. Okay. I think I'll cast it. Just worse if I end up wanting to do like a Faithless Looting line. I want green-black here. Bayou. The downside of this is that it can allow my opponent to, like, sorcery speed prismatic ending this, using their mana from this turn cycle instead of the mana from the following turn cycle, which may or may not be relevant. Alright, they've got their land drop. I've got a Manabond. So, this happens. This happens. Opponent just typed heh 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 in chat, so kinda worried. Very much like this to resolve. Opponent gives me the no, sir. That's fine. I believe I'm just attacking for 1 and making an Urza Saga Construct token. I probably need a fetch right now so that my opponent can't Boseiju this, which would be a pretty big punish. Saga, probably, or no. I want Badlands because there's worlds where I hardcast this Bloodghast. Not a lot of them, but there's worlds. Yeah. Alright, good stuff. Okay, so opponent wasn't setting up anything with Brainstorm. It's just a fetch to clear. Basic land, Blood Moon. Rawr. Don't do it to me, though. I'll be so salty. Back to basics would be more likely than Blood Moon. Okay, Prismatic Ending is fine. And then end of turn token. I'll do that again next turn. Another Bloodghast. Okay. We're definitely starting to go somewhere. This gets me an LED, so I can discard both of these Bloodghasts at once at any point. I don't have the land drop to be super sneaky here, and there's worlds where I lose this to an Ice Fang Coatl in combat. Like so. But I'm an aggro deck on a rough draw. We're not playing around things. I'm thinking about taking this hit. They're thinking about taking this hit. I'm scared. Okay, no. All right, cool. Or, well, more accurately, they're not going. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. They might have been thinking about taking the hit, but they ultimately didn't. If they just took that hit, I would be very scared of, like, Dress Down or Serenity or something. Just, well, probably not Serenity, but some sort of Dress Down-like card just taking a 2-for-1 here. Ha ha ha. That's awkward for me. Do I put them in the graveyard? Or do I just hardcast them both over 2 turns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 22 lands. Okay. So, got like 17 of 49. So about 35% chance to hit a land. And then a few more things are kind of like lands, because Faithless Looting probably finds a land. I am going to go ahead and throw that all in the graveyard. I'm not 100% sure if that's the correct play. Like, there's some worlds where I miss on a land drop for a bunch of turns, and then, like, these resources that could have ended up in play are just chilling in the wrong zone. But I think in a lot of the worlds where I do cool shit, like, I've got to take the risk. I think that's curtains for me. Alright, the Bloodghasts come back. So that is some good news. The bad news is, like, they're not hasty. I'm attacking my opponent for 1. They're about to have a 6/6 lifelinker in play, and Bloodghasts don't block. Sure didn't draw, like, an Anji's Ravager or something like that at all in this match. Kinda clunked all over ourselves this round. Yeah, I just don't know that I beat this card here. Like, I'm hellbent after a double mulligan that kept into a weak hand. I think I'm dead to this. I'm gonna go ahead and concede here. Like, I could play this out for a couple more turns, but I don't see this going positively for me. Okay, round 2 opening hand has a Faithless Looting, but 5 lands. I don't know that this is strong enough to actually keep. Let's mulligan and try to do something cooler. How cool is this? Assume I put back one of the root walls. Taiga, Manabond. I have 2 red available for Anji's Ravager on turn 1. Hell yeah, this is, like, way more like what I'm interested in. I'm going to pitch Basking Root Wallet here since its activated ability costs more. I believe I'm going to have to stack my triggers carefully here, though. Alright. Mana Bond. Alright, so we do this thing. End of turn. Yes, I use this ability. So I'm going to put this Anji's Ravager trigger below the Urza Saga trigger, because I need the Urza Saga to gain the ability to produce mana before the Anji's Ravager trigger resolves. Okay. This is what we were here for. Alright, round 1, we just kind of took a beating from a deck that, like, feels designed to beat me. But this is gross. Like, this might be the Twitter screenshot of the league, you know? Good, honest swamp. Good, honest swamp. You love to see it. Okay, it's not a good, honest swamp. It is a scumbag swamp. No. No. My hand was so cool. Now this Anji's Ravager has to attack into Grizzlebrand. My disappointment is infinite. My sadness absolute. There are worlds where I can power through this, though, in all seriousness. Okay. So my opponent is going to get a Chancellor. Okay. Oh, sorry. I missed an Archon being discarded. Alright. Fuck this. I'm out. Damn. Alright. This is what the Leyline of the Voids are for. I probably want the Angers for haste as well. Like, the raw damage that I produce matters. Gamble's probably expendable. I probably don't need the grinding of the Bloodghasts here. From there, it gets a little harder. Maybe Ox is slow and I trim one Manabond. Alright. It feels like a Mulder Leyline matchup. Or keep an incredibly aggressive hand. I don't think this is an incredibly aggressive hand. Yeah, this doesn't do it either. Let's go deeper. Yikes. This one can't cast the Manabond. If one of these was green, and I could play Manabond, like, this would have been very good, right? Like, junk this, Blazing Root Wallet, Vengevine turn 1. Like, that attacks for a lot turn 2. Unfortunately, we are going to 5. Am I keeping? It's LED, Root Walla, Anji's Ravager. Attack for 5-ish damage on turn 2. And draw 3 cards. I am going to hope that my opponent has a hand that doesn't quite get there as of right now because they mulligan to something that beats Leyline, and I'm going to keep this hand. So 3 go back. That's 1, 2, 3. Done. I'll play LED. I don't have to do all of this stuff right now. I can just wait on that. So I can make them try to, like, cast a discard spell on me or something, and then crack this for red. Or alternatively, like, they can just, like, have it all and turn 1 me. Cool. Alright. So much for my plan of, keeping a hand. Or having them keep a hand that, yeah, alright. I don't know. I guess, like, there's no hurt in playing this out for another 20 seconds. I mean, not literally 20 seconds. It'll be a minute, but I guess there are some insane Anji's Ravager sequences. No, I can't really think of them. They don't have anything that just kills the Grizzlebrand, and I don't. Since that, like, this trigger happens during declare attackers, I can't, like, declare extra Vengevines. Alright, cast the second one. Cast the Anji's Ravager. Alright. And, we'll pump one of these. Just so I can F6. Okay. I mean, I'll play this. I don't think this goes anywhere in any worlds. My opponent blocks this. They end up gaining life from this turn cycle. Which is not where you want to be. Can't do anything with these. Yeah, that's very unfortunate for me. Okay, looting. Battle is whatever. Dark Ritual is scary. Opponent's about to get an Archon of Cruelty. Alright, let's concede here. We could not find a Leyline or an acceptable aggro hand. Unfortunate. Alright, opening hand here doesn't really do anything. Like, I can cast these. I have no way to discard anything in my hand. I'm gonna go ahead and mulligan. This is a weird one. I can pitch a hollow one and then essentially not care about a hollow one and do kind of the same line as last time around. Let's call that good. And becomes very awkward if this Manabond Eats a Force of Will. Let the spice flow. Yes, I will use this ability. Okay, so Anji's Ravager trigger goes on the bottom, so that this can give me mana first. And then I'll go ahead and cast this. And we've got a draw 3 next turn and an Urza Saga if that fails. We're playing against Anurag Das, who I think was messing around with Painter, if memory serves. Rude. I wanted to live the dream, Anurag. So it goes. He's playing Callum Smith's deck list, which only has 2 grindstones for reference. Alright, so they've got a Goblin Engineer to round out the turn here. I've got an Anger. They have a Brea's Apprentice in graveyard. Okay, we're gonna chill. We're gonna make some artifact stuff for a little while here. Yeah, you know what? I will throw that Anger into my graveyard. It's a little worse if I just have Faithless Looting later, but that's fine. Okay, opponent going for the Brea's Apprentice immediately, kind of grinding their value. This card does a lot of work. Alright, and end of turn. I'll go ahead and make my token. There's an Anji's Ravager. That's totally legit. I'll fetch a Lion's Eye Diamond here. So these have haste. So let's go ahead and ship in with these. And at any point I want, I can have a 3/3 Anji's Ravager. I don't really want right now. Like, these things being 3/3s versus these things being 2/2s is kind of a big deal right now. My opponent can sacrifice an artifact to kind of trade with these bodies, which isn't the best for me. That flyer attack is fine. I will just let that happen. Going to 19. Alright, and opponent's just going to get a land. This lets you play lands, and you may play that card. The templating on play versus cast matters. Ooh, another Goblin Engineer. That's definitely scary. Alright, there's a Painter. I'm not gonna make this decision yet. I have Anger in graveyard, so like these things do have haste. Ox? How many cards will I have in my graveyard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Not quite there. But maybe post-combat? It would need to hit a red land. I'll accept, though. Alright, so I will absolutely just go ahead and cast this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, really only 5. Send them on in. I've drawn 3. The opponent can bring back a Painter here if they're willing to sacrifice either this or this. Alright, there is the Painter. Everything is predictably blue. And Anurag's just going to absorb some damage here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still in graveyard. Nothing's changed in that front. Did I actually discard any cards this turn? Yes, I did. So let's jam a hollow one on in here. And move to end of turn. I am just going to go ahead and throw that in play. Bonus land drop is a thing. Quick note here on differences between these creatures. Goblin Engineer is a your graveyard, whereas Goblin Welder is a graveyard. So my opponent can weld my creatures into Lion's Eye Diamonds if that's something that they want to do. Now, opponent can like turn Painter into Brea's Apprentice and do some things of that general nature. My Urza Saga token is about to have haste. Okay. This is a 6th card in graveyard. I'll go ahead and play that out pre-combat. Leave a red available. And there's a famous saying, math is for blockers. I think my opponent has a Pyroblast and is thinking about Pyroblasting Anji's Ravager. Okay, they're going for a hollow one instead, which decreases the power of the constructs overall. Is there a second one? Send them. I'll take my Ancestral. Faithless Looting is probably pretty good. And I assume this is flooping back into play in some capacity. Okay, I am correct. I'm getting rid of the Painter. Opponent is very unsure on blocks. They've gone back and forth a bunch of times. Okay, it looks like they are going for some chumps here, kind of respecting their life total. This is fine with me. They're going to 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 7th card in graveyard. If I Faithless Looting, most of the time I'll be able to Ox next turn. That should be fine. Let's go ahead and do that. An LED. Sure. Alright, there's Rootwalla, Bloodstained Mire. I will Madness this creature into play. And I get to do something really fucking cool here. I get to play LED. I will now discard my hand. Cast Ox of Agonas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need an 8th. Can I make this bigger? Yes. Now, I get rid of all of my artifacts so that my opponent can't weld out my creatures here, which is super cool. Do I want to both Seiju, like my opponent's land, just take one artifact out of play? Or do I just want to end of turn Anji's Ravager? I need to look at my opponent's deck list and see if they're playing an Ensnaring Bridge. No main deck Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, so I don't need to play around that. And just take a creature out of graveyard, but then my opponent can turn this into this. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch and kill the Brea's Apprentice. I don't know, that gives my opponent mana. I don't know that I can give them more mana. It's easier to die to Painter if that happens. I'm gonna convert the artifact land into a regular land. I just don't want to turn that into another mana source. I think giving them the untapped mana right now is okay. And I don't want to activate this Manabond at end of turn. I think I've got lethal very much more than covered. Just like accidentally dying to Grindstone, that can happen. Alright, there's a land. Lightning Bolt at themselves, I respect it. Weird game. So this is going to be one of those weird times where I know my opponent's exact 75. And my opponent might board in Magus of the Moon. It might board in Leyline of the Void. It might board in Fury. Those are things that I should keep on my radar. Given very probable Leyline, I don't think I like Bloodghast. I think those are going to become some number of Ancient Grudges and Meltdowns. Given very probable Leyline, I don't really love Gamble. So that's this as a starting point. I don't think I can over sideboard here. Like, Firestorm and Leyline are attractive for some reasons. But I think if I start going that route, I just decrease my creature density. Like, I am the beatdown here. I think I want to go down 1 Manabond to pick up a Pithing Needle. And then I think I'll get rid of the Anger to grab a Shadow Spear. So, like, my opponent does have a decent number of chump blockers, and if my Urza Saga actually works, I want to have access to respectable targets. I think this is okay. Like, there's worlds where I'm supposed to keep the Gamble to help me Meltdown more frequently. And I think on the play, I'll play the other copy of Manabond, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, assuming no Leyline, this is nuts. Kappa. Alright. Well, this goes beat down pretty fast. That's the good news. So, let's loot here. Discard double Blazing Rootwalla. Cast that. Man, this hand would have been so good. Cast this. Now, I can put 2 more Rootwallas into play. But then I won't really be able to, like, pump these and go full force, so I don't think I go any harder than this turn. Alright, are we looking at a Painter? We're looking at a Painter. That's fine. Everything changes color. Another LED. Not really what I want right now. Is it just red? Yeah, I think this is just red mana. Like, Magus of the Moon be damned. Send these creatures sideways. Fetch. Oh, this will be Badlands. Send some mana into the lizards. For 6 damage. Then I'll play out some Lion's Eye Diamonds. With the intention of doing end of turn Basking Root Wallet, but I don't need to do it now for any reason. Alright. Honorog's got a land drop. What's next? A Brea's Apprentice. Multiple bodies here are pretty good. Am I still going all in on these here? I can wait another turn to make one more land drop. I think I'm willing to do that. Like, my evaluation of cards might change. For example, if I drew Urza Saga. Alright. Send them. Totally fine trading bodies here. Oh, no blockers. Pump. Absolutely. Opponent goes to 8. I am fine casting one of these. And using my mana. Like, there's worlds where I crack LED, and there's worlds where I don't. I think a lot of time I am cracking it, and just like trying to get over the finish line. Ooh. That is the grindstone. Now I can't crack the LEDs or my opponent knows that I'm dead. Okay, Honorog went for it, which would be bad against Force of Vigor, but otherwise it's very good. I will go ahead and concede here. We got close, but couldn't quite get there. We've confirmed that Leyline of the Void is coming. I've already kind of hedged against that by getting rid of some Bloodghasts. On the play, do I want another Manabond, or do I maybe want some Firestorms? Firestorm's neat. Clears out my opponent's utility creatures. Like, I've got Meltdowns and Ancient Grudges, which kind of accomplish similar roles. Manabond better than Putrid Imp. They do different things. I'm also going to take the Ox out and play one of these 2 cards. Probably Manabond when I'm on the play. This is all in. Does my opponent have Leyline? It's just Manabond, end of turn, Rootwalla, Vengevine. If my opponent doesn't keep a Leyline hand, I probably win. Alright, gamble accepted. Damn it, Honorog. So, this is always Taiga. And probably just play the Blazing Rootwalla. It's super unfortunate that my opponent opened up on Leyline twice. I kept the hand that gambled it both times. I don't think you mulligan to Leyline in the matchup. Like, it misses a huge portion of the time. Yeah. Alright. I'm gonna crash in. I'm gonna just try to get the early damage here with this Rootwalla. Nope. Alright. We're basically at the point where we're dead. Like, I don't expect to win this game anymore. LED doesn't really do anything here. I don't think that's worth playing out. I will play out a Manabond for the future. But I think my opponent has very good inevitability here. Okay, so my opponent has potentially kept a weak hand that has Leyline. Maybe I can find time to get out of this then. Alright. 2 mana. Rootwalla. Classic Fair Magic. At its best. Alright. So my opponent must have a bunch of situational cards like Blast that aren't quite good right now. My opponent also notably has 0 artifacts in play, which is kind of weird. Okay, 1 artifact in play. Hardcast a Fury. Alright, so that's bad news for me. I'll take 1. So I can Boseiju this at my opponent's end of turn. And then try to do something that gets all of this stuff into play. Alright. I am on board with this. I don't think I'm supposed to just Boseiju and dump these Vengevines into the graveyard, getting rid of this other stuff. I think it's too good. But it is possible that I am wrong. Down to 10. Gunk the Leyline. You get a land. Isn't quite working. Like, I'll play Verdant Catacombs, but my next turn needs to be insane. Like, any creature that just could have chump blocked the Fury would have been cool. Alright, I'll take my 6. Opponent is leaving up Goblin Welder. Don't like this. Windshot Sniper, sure. No artifact showing as of right now. Do I want to cycle Hollow One? Probably. Not a feel-good situation here. I can cast a Vengevine, jump block Fury, take 2, go to 1. This is 2 damage to any target. I'm comfortable just conceding here. GG's. Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying the show. If you are, and you're in the position to financially support me, please consider doing a donation deck list or doing something that pledges some money my way every month, be that a Patreon subscription or a YouTube membership. If you support me on Patreon or become a YouTube member, you do gain access to my Discord, which is a pretty chill place. Alright, plug over. Let's get back to the content. Okay, this hand is probably pretty good, but we probably don't do anything on turn 1. So it's probably turn 2, Faithless Looting, discard 2 cards, play Hollow One for 1 mana, and Basking Rootwalla as well. And we'll just play out a land on turn 1. We don't necessarily want to... Well, there's a more all-in approach where I Faithless Looting Lion's Eye Diamond and put Hollow One into play on turn 1. Or no, that's not actually going to work, right? That's not going to work. Yeah, so we'll just do this. And I don't think I want to just play this out as a 1/1 creature on turn 1. Like, it's like I've got the Faithless Looting to support it. Underground Sea. Oh, that's going to be very good. So we are probably playing against a blue combo deck of some kind. We could be playing against like a Grixis control deck, but I'm usually thinking Doomsday when this sort of thing happens. All right. I am not going to play around Days because I very much do not know what land I want right now. Like, in worlds where this Faithless Looting sucks, I want to play Urza Saga. In worlds where the Faithless Looting is good, I might need another colored source of mana. This first one's Taiga. I should play this, though, in case I hit Anji's Ravager, and I feel confident that I want to cast that. If I do hit Anji's Ravager, it's a little awkward to have not played a land beforehand, but again, I'm willing to make a suboptimal play for the sake of staying more flexible. So this always gets discarded. Then probably this always gets discarded. I don't really need another LED here. Although it's an artifact, just straight up is an artifact. I have an Urza Saga. Okay. No, I've changed my mind. Alright, Madness. Why did that just pop out? Alright, play Urza Saga. I've discarded 2 cards, so Hollow One costs 1 mana. Cast that. Force Pitching Ponder. Because my opponent plays discard, I'm going to go ahead and play out the other Lion's Eye Diamond. And I don't think I'm interested in flashing back a Faithless Looting since I'm about to make Urza Saga construct tokens using this land. Oh. Okay. Might be playing against like a bug control deck. Well, hopefully I can just dodge like a dress down. And this game's easy. So I always play this. I think I just keep these in play for the size of the constructs. Just attack for 1 and call it a turn. There's some Faithless Looting lines. There's some lines involving like playing this out. But I think I straight up just like the constructs being as large as possible. Like, I just need to hit very hard, very fast, so that the Sylvan Library doesn't bury me. We don't have both white removal and endurance to worry about this round. Probably just endurance. There are also worlds where we could be playing against a combo deck like Alurin. I don't like that. Really wanted both of those. Tokens. Enough out. Okay. Are you, okay. More LED. A lot of LED. I guess I'm comfortable just casting this. No. So I need to do this like this. The templating of LED is a little strange. So now I'll flashback looting. We'll discard both of these. Another creature for free. Crash in with a Root Walla, and then after no blocks, I'll go ahead and pump this up to a 3/3. A fun little note here, I can use Lion's Eye Diamonds to pump my creatures, and I'm actually going to set a stop in my own upkeep in case I want to do that prior to drawing my card. Like, there's a lot of worlds where I just go like pump, pump, pump with all this mana. Wrist. Okay. This deals probably 6 damage to my opponent this turn. Oh yeah, opponent's Hellbent. Or alternatively, I can kill the Grist. Like, do I want to put my opponent to 2 with a Grist? Or do I just want to kill their Planeswalker? I probably just want to kill their Planeswalker. I don't think I'm going to actually activate this in the upkeep here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's send all of these at Grist and just guarantee that death. Opponent will block this one. That's fine. Like, their 3 mana card traded for a 0 mana card. I can go ahead and just pump one of these like this. That's 4 total damage. That's good enough, and I can kind of keep this one in my hand. Like, my opponent is probably not going to go and, oh. Okay, so this represents Dryad Arbor. Not actually a big deal. Well, it could be a Dryad Arbor. Like, I don't know for sure. But I am willing to just put this into play. Let's cast this in kind of the same awkward position as last turn. I think this time I do crack it. Okay, my opponent's just conceded. Sure. Okay, so they don't have a Dryad Arbor. So opponent feels like a hard control deck. I did not see any utility creatures, any cantripping creatures, anything like that. There's not a lot of snow-covered lands out here for things like Icefang Coatl, but there still might be in the deck. What do we pitch? Force, just Ponder. Okay. I think I'm interested in having the Pithing Needle for maybe Jace and Grist. From there, it's a little harder given what I've seen. I don't think I want Leyline to fight Uro. I don't think I want this artifact stuff, even though like Baleful Strix could be something that exists. Firestorm is something that I can think about. Just like clears out Baleful Strix, can answer Planeswalkers, can go to my opponent's face. Not necessarily the most interesting thing in the world. Angers are okay. I'm going to go gamble out Pithing Needle in and call that good. I'm maybe supposed to trim a Manabond for another Anger or something. In some capacity, this hand is going to be very good. I absolutely feel comfortable keeping it. Probably turn 2 Faithless Looting. We'll kind of see what I draw. I think my opponent has too much interaction for me to want to go all in on a turn 1 Anji's Ravager. Do I play one this turn? I don't know that I play one this turn. I think I'm just going to play Verdant Pass so I can't get wastelanded. There's worlds where I'm supposed to play out LED since it's so good, and I don't want it to get, like, thought seized. Alright. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to play an LED here, and this is my bait spell. It is almost always correct to stop an LED against this deck, just by the way. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to crack LED now. So I'm just going to play my first Faithless Looting and see what sort of reaction this gets from my opponent. I want to do the Anji's Ravager and the LED cracking stuff towards the end of the turn. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Basking Root Walla and Manabond will go away here. And I'll Madness this creature in. Past that. Hollow one currently costs 1. After I cast another Faithless Looting, it will cost 0. Why? Okay. Fetch. Grab another Taiga. Cast a second Faithless Looting. Would be really cool to find Vengevines here. Fatal Push? Okay, yeah, you're going to Fatal Push. That's fine. Oh, hell yeah, it's Vengevine. Alright, so Vengevine and land can go away. think the order here is Hollow 1, returning Vengevine. Nice. Hollow 1, LED. Crack LED for red. Allows me to madness this creature into play. Then I think I go ahead and go for another Faithless Looting from Graveyard here. If I were to find the anger, it would be gross! Combat! Absolute fucking combat. Let's go. Oh, what a moment. I've already made my land drop. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Eat your heart out, Toxic Deluge. GG's. Alright, final round here. What does this hand do? This hand kind of does nothing. Like, I'm a mana away from having an Anji's Ravager. I think this is just a mulligan. Like, I can put 3 lizards into play on turn 1, but, you know, I'm not expecting that to be good enough. Mana does not work with this hand. This will be another mulligan. What can I do with Gamble here? So, Gamble is like going down another card. It's pretty rough. So, my keep would have to be something like land, Gamble, Blazing Root Wall, or Vengevine, and try to concoct a scenario where I can get the Vengevine into play on turn 2, which is not that hard. It does require some things to go right. I think it's just better at this point to mulligan to 4 and try to get a turn 1 Anji's Ravager. I'm gonna do that. Not a capable hand. 3 can still make Anji's Ravager on turn 1. 3 cards, huh? Saga, Looting, Rootwalla? Prey? Or legit try to go to 2. I don't know that this wins. Like, this is very weak. This is like, hope the top 2 cards of my library are exactly Vengevine and another Rootwalla or something like that. I don't think this wins. I'm going to 2. Yikes. Okay, I'm gonna keep it. This goes back, this goes back, this goes back. I think I just keep double Vengevine and pray that I can get them into play at some point. Or sorry, I guess it's single Vengevine. Same thing though. I am not going to play any cards. I intend on conceding this game once I know what deck my opponent is on, if they pull ahead. Oh, or they can just kill me on turn 1. Literally or effectively. Yeah, okay. I will wait to see more cards from my opponent, but that beats me. The unfortunate thing is my opponent's probably going to think that I'm something like Reanimator and like board ley lines. And as we saw in the round versus Anurag, that doesn't turn out too well for me. Okay. Cool. If my opponent has a 3rd soul land, I effectively just die to Mycosynth Lattice. I would like to know if my opponent actually has colored mana in their deck. Okay. Sure. That leans towards no. But it's not definitive. Not going to show this land again. I am already effectively dead because of Tronosphere, and the Wasteland just makes that worse. Okay, so that is a hard lock for me. I'm going to get a little more information here. I might actually show a forest and try to fuck with my opponent that way. Ooh, this is the point where we concede. Okay, opponent's playing Thought-Knots here. Alright, no bueno. That was a absolutely like rancid string of opening hands. Ancient Grudges in. I think Meltdown is questionable. I want the Pithing Needle, I think. If the Meltdown's a little awkward, and like if opponent just has Eldrazi-sized threats, like Meltdown does not interact with those. Hard casting these sorts of bodies is definitely going to end up mattering. Go down to Manabond. I think despite Karn, the LEDs are still strong enough that I don't get rid of them. Bloodghasts have been pretty underwhelming this league. I think I'll cut a couple of those. That gives me these and Shadow Spear over the last Bloodghast, I think, so that my creatures can end up being better in combat than Thought-Knots here. All right, deck. Like, don't do me dirty like this in the last round. Deck. Like, I don't think this Urza Saga hand beats my opponent. Like, it's a very bad Urza Saga hand. Like, I am the aggro deck. My opponent wins the late game with their, like, planeswalkers. Like, this is highly interactive, but that's not where I want to be. I don't think I'm supposed to keep this hand. I'm gonna go to 5. Like, 4. 3. That also does nothing. This is insane. I'm gonna try to go to 2 and get Ravager plus Lion's Eye Diamond. Like, this is not winning games of Magic. Okay. Like, I'll keep 2 of these. Like, get rid of you, I think. And then just try to get lucky and draw a Lion's Eye Diamond next turn. That was 2 sets of 7 cards that I think we went to 2 on and just failed to find a reasonable opening hand. That's super frustrating. Mech Hanger. Cool. Okay, that's the vehicle land. Sure. Chalice on 1 is very good. Okay. As soon as my opponent presents a threat, I think I concede. Like, this is... Alright, we're moving on. I mulliganed into despair here. GG's. So this is a 1-4 league, no prizes for us. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Not great. And I'm not just saying that because of my record and, like, the terrible mulligans in the last round there. I think there's too many combinations of cards you can draw that just don't work well together. So, like, Bloodghast is great when you, like, have the looting or the Manabond, and, like, that's all well and good, but otherwise it's very hard to cast, and was something that I was pretty consistently interested in boarding out. It also doesn't work super well towards the Vengevine plan. Like, I know we did do that, like, 7 mana turn of, like, Hollow 1 plus Bloodghast, and we returned to Vengevine that way, but outside of that, it wasn't super fantastic. And again, there's so much white removal in the metagame that I don't know that Bloodghast, Nether Spirit style threats are what I'm super interested in. The Manabonds don't play super well with, like, the hollow ones. They play really well with Anji's Ravager, though. So, I don't know. Like, to make Hollow 1 better, we would need more Putrid Imps or, Burning Inquiry, the 1 mana red card where you both, like, draw, I think it's 4, like, you both draw 4, discard 4 at random. I didn't feel like a particularly good aggro deck. Like, I feel like having, like, these mana bonds and Bloodghasts in the deck was enough fat that I wasn't as consistent an aggro deck as I was expecting to be. Like, the Manabond idea is definitely cute. It's very cool. And, like, I do like the Urza Saga aspect of this deck as a backup for when Leylines get into play. But ultimately, I don't know how much further this idea is worth pursuing. It's very interesting, but it comes with a lot of downsides. So, like, the Once Upon a Times really help your hands. Like, we saw with those last, like, 14 mulligan decisions that I was just, like, looking to assemble, like, Anji's Ravager plus LED or something like that was just very powerful. And having Once Upon a Time to get more look at that, or get more looks at your, like, second root wall that you need to bring back the Vengevines or whatever, I think is pretty important. So, like, in addition to just these 6 non-land slots, like, you can cut a decent number of lands as well. Because, like, the Urza Sagas, like, I think normally would be other spells. The first time I 5-0'd with this deck list, it had, I think, 15 lands. Like, it was not a lot of lands, because, like, the deck is so lean. So, ultimately, just, I think, a few too many lands here. And if we want to be cutting lands, we also probably want to be cutting mana bonds. So, if you want to be playing a Jund version of this deck list, I think I would just be going in on Putrid Imps and trying to fix the early game consistency. That said, kind of like I said in the intro, though, like I'm not super interested in this deck right now because like there's endurances running around, there's a lot of white removal running around, and there's Murktide Regents that can come into play on like turn 3 and just like outclass these creatures that you're working really hard to get into play. Regardless, folks, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button on the way out, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!